is Chelsea, and welcome back to Divine Therapy. We are now in session 9, and in today's session, we will be going over faith, trusting in what you cannot see. This session is specifically for those who don't have faith at all, that are interested in knowing more about faith, and those that are struggling with strengthening or keeping their faith. Let's get into the definition of what faith is. I'm getting the definition of faith from the Bible today, mostly because the world defines faith as things that you can see, that are tangible, and that goes against what God's definition of faith is. Hebrews 11 verse 1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Now that we have defined what faith is, let me give you a few signs that you may be lacking in faith or completely don't have any. For one, you're doubtful. You doubt God when you're dealing with hardship, or you ask him for something, right? And you are doubting that he'll give that thing to you or he'll make a way for you. And that kind of goes into doubting who he says that he is, doubting what his word says, doubting the promises that he's made for you. You may also be confused about your beliefs, and you're pretty much battling on whether or not you want to follow God, follow Christ, or you want to follow some other belief. You're kind of weighing the pros and cons of what's over here, what's over there, and you're trying to fight God's truth with the truth that comes from maybe other religions or other people's ideas of what you should be believing in. You may also be questioning God a lot. Questioning God is a sign that you're lacking faith. If you're questioning every single little thing that he's doing or not doing, you are not fully trusting in him. And that is a really, really big problem. Like, we should not be doubting anything that God is doing or not doing, because he is faithful and he's just and he loves us, right? Another sign is that you're self-reliant. You rely on yourself to complete things and accomplish things. And whenever you're striving for your goals or you want a certain thing in life, you are relying on your own strength. You're relying on your own knowledge, your own understanding. And that would mean that you're taking the place of God. You're putting yourself in his place and you're pretty much leading yourself. You're not allowing him to lead and guide you, or you're not relying on his strength and relying on his being to get through life, to get through the hardships. And that right there is just evidence that you aren't completely trusting in who he is and his capabilities. The last sign, but certainly not the least, because there's many other signs that you could be lacking faith, but the fact that you are impatient and you feel like that God's timing is not lining up right. Whatever it is that you're desiring, you feel like should have happened at this time, but because it didn't and you don't see it manifested yet, your faith starts to diminish and you feel like God is not on time. But God is always on time, and in his word there are many examples of him being right on time. Again, these are just a few signs that you may be lacking faith. And if one or more of these are active in your life, you are in a really bad place. I'm just going to be honest with you. Your faith is at risk. Dealing with these things on a consistent basis can lead to you feeling really distant from God. You can't hear from him, you don't feel his presence, and that really affects your spirit, man. And you're on your way to being spiritually dead, to where you can't feel anything regarding God. And that will start to manifest in your life physically as well, because again, if you're self-reliant, right, or you're impatient with God, that impatience and that self-reliance and that doubt will start to creep into other areas of your life, because God should be your foundation. If he's not your foundation, everything around you will start to crumble. This is dangerous as well because of your lack of faith. God is not leading you. Why? Because you don't even have a strong enough faith in him or faith at all in him. Therefore, you're either leading yourself or the enemy is leading you. And if you're the one leading or someone else is the one leading instead of God, you're not going down the right path. You're going to end up on a path to destruction spiritually. And again, that's going to manifest physically. I want to get into a few things that I think you should know about faith. The first one is that it is a gift from God. In Ephesians 2:8 it says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God." So you cannot save yourself. There's nothing you can do to save yourself. Because of God's grace and unconditional love for you, he gives you faith in him. And when you accept that faith and you're walking in that faith continuously, we are saved from his wrath and his judgment. And that is such a merciful act, and we should be so grateful that God even thinks of us enough to want to give us that gift of faith, because he doesn't have to, but he does, again, in hopes that we would use our free will to choose him, to choose to believe in him and trust in him. If you've ever felt a strong urge to learn more about God, to pray to him even though you never have before, or you just feel this tug on your heart to get into his presence and figure out who he is, figure out this truth that all these other Christians and believers talk about, that right there is God's gift of faith to you. And though it may be small and maybe you're still confused and you're still trying to figure out what all this Christian and Jesus talk is about, that's okay. That is the beginning of faith. He gave you that urge. He gave you that desire to go and start to seek him. And in that, he's going to start to reveal himself to you, overall strengthening that little mustard seed of faith that you had to begin with. Going back into the verse, faith is not something that you can obtain on your own. It is spiritual. And again, it is from God. So without God, we cannot have faith. And that is a reason why so many people in this world do not have faith and will not have faith. But because of the ones that do have faith, or that have that desire to, again, seek God and just see what it is all about, that right there means that we are chosen. And I went over in a few sessions the verse that says we are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, God's special possession, things of that sort. We have been called and chosen to be people in God's kingdom, and that is such a special feeling to have, to know that God thought about you out of all the millions, billions of people in this world and decided that he wanted to give you faith. So you should really take advantage of the opportunity of that gift of faith and be diligent and be consistent with strengthening it. The second thing that I would like you to know is that the testing of faith produces patience. In James 1 verse 2 through 3, it says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." So whenever we face problems internally or externally, God uses those problems to test our faith, to give us the ability and opportunity to strengthen that faith. He's trying to see what it is you're going to do within those problems. A lot of people run to drugs, or they run to other people. They run to all these different coping mechanisms, or they run to all these different problem solvers, and they're running to the wrong problem solver. God is our problem solver. So again, within those bad situations and those hardships, those trials and tests that we have to endure on this earth because we live in a fallen world, God is trying to see what you're going to do in that time. And whenever we decide we're going to run to him and we're going to pray to him, we're going to worship and praise him, and we're going to fast, or we're going to do all these things that are surrounded by God, that right there is showing that we passed that test of faith. And in that, we're going to be rewarded with patience. I want to give you a definition of patience. And again, this definition is coming from the Bible. Patience is a virtue of enduring hardship and waiting on God's timing without getting frustrated or angry. So if you go through hardships and you go through hard times, like for example financially, and you're constantly frustrated, you're constantly angry, and you allow this hardship to take over your whole being, your whole mind, and your whole heart, and your actions start to show that you are not trusting in God and you are not reliant upon God and his promises, that is a sign that your faith is lacking in that area. But when you know that God is good, and you know that he will take care of you and he will provide all your needs, and you know that his timing is perfect, even though we feel like it should be this time and you need it now or you want it now, the reason that God waits so long is because, again, he's testing your faith. And in that, he's hoping that you would be patient and that you would allow your patience to have its perfect work. That way, whenever he does show up, you know for a fact that that faith that you have in him is true and that it is worth it. So as our faith continues to be tested and our patience increases, our trust in God will grow stronger and build a stronger connection with him. And that way, whenever you deal with future hardships, you will already know that God is going to come through for you because your faith has been tested many times and you've passed those tests. And again, patience is one of the rewards within that. And so in those future hardships and tests and trials, you already know the end result. So there will be no reason for you to be angry or worried or frustrated. The third thing, and one of the most important things that you should know, is that faith is shown through works. In James 2, verse 15 through 17, it says, "If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Depart in peace, be warmed and filled,' but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." So if you go out and you see a homeless person on the street and you pray for God to help them and to meet their needs, but you have the means to help that person, you have the money or the food or the resources to help that person, but you still go on about your day and you don't go to help them, what was the point in you praying for them? Like, of course, we know God can help them, but God gives us the tools to help other people, right? So that's just kind of what he's saying when it comes to faith and works. You can't say that you believe in me, you can't say that you trust in me, or that you love me, but you don't show that through your actions, right? Though, of course, we're not saved by our works, we're saved by grace through faith, as we stated in one of the first verses that we talked about. But you have to show your faith. Just like in school, when you learn a new lesson or you're taking a test or you're doing homework, right? Your teacher wants you to show your work. So yes, you may know it and you may believe it and you know the right answer, right? But let me see how you got to that answer. Let me see in writing the knowledge and understanding that you have, right? Again, it's the same thing with faith. So if you are saying that you have faith and you believe that you have faith, these are a few works that should show in your life. For one, prayer. Praying to God, even though you can't see him, is a sign that you trust that he is there, that you trust that he hears you, and that you trust that he will answer you, whether it be immediate or whether it be months, weeks, days from now. Another thing is worship and praise. Giving God the glory and honor that he deserves is such a big sign of faith. And the fact that you believe that he is king, that he is Lord, that he deserves the praise and the worship that you're giving him, and that you just want to show your gratitude and your thankfulness for all that he has done for you. And it especially deepens your connection with him when you give him that worship and praise throughout your hardship. So though you're feeling down and you're feeling like your world is crumbling around you because of the different things like bills, or maybe your kids are acting up, or maybe you just got out of a bad relationship, or your friendships are crumbling, whatever the hardships may be for you, you still go to God and you give him that worship and you give him that praise. He rewards you for it with peace that surpasses your understanding, something that you won't even be able to comprehend, how you still have this peace in the midst of all the chaos around you, right? So I just wanted to throw out there that we are rewarded for our faith. We're rewarded for putting in the work to show our faith. Another work that your faith should show is fasting. When you decide that you're going to sacrifice something that the world says your body needs, right, which is food and water, when you decide to sacrifice that so that you can feed your spirit man instead of your flesh, you are showing such faith in God that God will sustain you through that hard time of denying your flesh, right? Because when you don't eat and when you don't drink water, especially when it's something that you're new to or you've never done before, your body is going to react in such negative ways, and you're going to feel that strong urge to eat more than you ever have, because the enemy is trying to keep you from fasting, of course. But when you decide that you're going to be diligent in that and that you're going to rely on God's strength to get you through that fast, that is a really, really big and good sign of faith. The last thing I have for you is to read and apply his words. And the reason that I say reading and applying is because you can read his word all day, but if you're not putting the word into practice, it's the same thing with faith and works. What's the point of having faith if you're not going to show that faith, right? So what's the point of reading if you're not going to apply what it is you're reading? But when you read and apply God's word, you are trusting and you're showing your faith that what he says in his words, these words that you're reading on these pieces of paper, right, you are believing them with your whole heart because you're acting out on them. And of course, God rewards you for that. He rewards you for listening and obeying his commands and his suggestions for you in his word. Reading and applying the word shows that you trust that the word is from God and that he's speaking to you through those pages that you're reading. Some people feel the need to hear God audibly, and they want it to be like they're having a conversation with their friend or with their father, with their mother, right? But whenever you are reading his word and you're taking that on as him directly speaking to you, and again, you apply that word to your life, you will start to be rewarded by that. And again, that's you showing your faith in him, in his word, in the things that he said, and the things that he told you to do and not to do, right? When we're abiding by that and we're being obedient to him, that's plenty sign that you have faith in him. In order to walk with God, you need faith. Without faith, it is nothing. Like, your relationship with him is void. There is no relationship, right? Because you don't even trust in the one who's on the other side of this relationship. I'm not beating you down or anything. I'm just letting you know the importance of faith. There's so many stories, especially I believe it's in Hebrews 11. It kind of goes down the different people and their different stories and testimonies of how they showed their faith in God. And one of the biggest ones is Abraham and his son Isaac. When God told him to take his son, his one and only son that was supposed to be the only heir he had, the only one that could continue his family line, right? When he told him to take his son and go take him to wherever, some little table thing, and put him on it and kill him, right? Abraham acted out all those steps up until the point he was about to kill him, and God came in right on time and he set the lamb in his place, right? And he believed in God so much in his promise that he made him that he would have a family line. And so with his faith, he knew that God would provide a way. Even if he did have to kill his son, he knew that God would still provide a way for his promise to be made, and his trust in God was fully complete in that. And so no, he didn't have to kill his son, and I don't believe that God intended for that to happen, but that was a way of God truly testing the faith of Abraham. I encourage you to go into the Bible and find those stories about faith and read and apply how it is that they use that faith to get them through those hardships, right? And how that faith produced that patience and the rewards that they got for staying strong in their faith and continuing to trust in God and his word and his promises, trusting in who God is, because God is never changing. He loves you. He wants the best for you, and he will use all the tests and hardships that you go through for your good if you allow him to. All you have to do is choose to accept his gift of faith and continue to strengthen that faith daily, whatever that means for you. But again, I encourage you to be praying, to worship and praise, to read his word, and to fast every now and then. It doesn't have to be often, but fasting is a sacrifice. As Jesus sacrificed his life for us, the least we can do is go a few days without food and water, right? Just to strengthen ourselves in different areas. So though we're sacrificing a few days of eating and drinking water, whatever that fast is for you, at the end of that fast, we're rewarded and we are gaining more than it is that we're losing a few days of food. I honestly hope that you learned something from today's session, and that you will apply what you learned, and that you will go and read the word for yourself of what he says about faith. If you're struggling with faith, it is okay, and it is not the end of your connection with God, but this is an eye-opener for you to go and start to strengthen that and get that faith back. It's not completely lost. If he gave you that gift of faith, or if he's giving it to you now, it doesn't have to be gone just because it feels weak or because it feels new for you. You're able to strengthen it and regain it and get it to a point where it's stronger than it's ever been before, but you have to put that work in. You have to use works to show your faith. You have to let faith have its perfect work and produce that patience, produce that trust in God. I thank you so much for joining me on today's session. I'm going to encourage you to share this video with someone that you know is struggling with faith or doesn't have faith at all. Faith is the beginning of knowledge, and knowledge is in the word. So let's really get a handle on strengthening our faith and understand the importance of having it. That will be all that I have for you today, and I will see you in the next session. Bye.